What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Funnel Vision Show. I am here with Jason Wojo. I am very excited to chat with you. I'm very excited to dive into your story because you've exploded and done some incredible things. So I'm really looking forward to chatting with you, man. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited about this.
So for the people who don't know you, let's do your little humble brag here. Who are you? And tell me what you've been able to achieve for your clients. Tell me what you've been able to achieve for yourself as an agency.
So over the last 6 years, we've ran Wojo Media, which is a full service stack marketing firm. We work with businesses and coaches, consultants, service providers, e-com stores. We help them with their offers, their landing pages, their product pages, their stores, their email, their SMS, their systems, their sales process. And then we've spent well over $30 million online across all the client accounts. I think it's up to like 31 million now on just paid traffic. And we've done 123-ish million online, which is about a 4-to-1 ROAS. So every single dollar we give the ad platform, we get $4 back, which is on average universally. It's not just like this one niche that we work with. So, obviously home service businesses are going to get a higher ROAS. Digital info products are going to have a lower. So it's just very variable as an average of having a 4X. I've been a part of the Ford's Business Council. I'm still in it. I've been publishing Entrepreneur, all this cool stuff. I think the number now is a lot of people think that when I say 100 million, they think that it's the money that I made. It's not. That's what we generate with ads. If I had to put a number on how much money we've made in the company, it's probably close to 18-ish, 17 million. So it's really exciting. We're really changing the space. We're trying to partner with bigger names. We're just trying to really push brand this year. So I'm excited to do a bunch of podcasts and speaking engagements. We also run Scale Your Ads, which is going to be the biggest paid ad event ever. We run them very small. We've had 2,200 attendees, which is not a lot to some people, but everything starts from zero. We're in talks right now of getting ClickFunnels and stuff to sponsor it and back it. So it's going to be pretty insane. I'm really excited to see where it goes, and just building relationships and doing all the brand stuff this year was definitely a necessity for me.
When are you hosting the Scale Your Ads event?
Yeah, so we have them every single month. We had the one in Miami a couple weeks back. We got the one in New York City coming up June 22nd and 23rd. And then the one that I haven't told anybody yet is the one in July, which is for my birthday. So my parents are coming to that, which is the July 26th and 27th event. We're going to try to have 700 to 800 people in a room, and it's going to be in Miami. That's going to be probably one of the biggest challenges of my life because I've never ran an event that big. I have no idea what to expect at all. But we have a great lineup of speakers who have agreed to come. We got a comedian who agreed to come. It's going to be pretty freaking sick. So I'm really excited about it.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. And it sounds like you're on an incredible kind of trajectory and journey. But you mentioned something that kind of stood out, which is everything kind of starts from zero, right? So, it's incredible that you've been able to manage over $120 million in revenue for your clients, $30 million in ad spend. Your own business has made, well over that 8-figure mark. But where did it start? Let's start from the beginning. I want to hear the agency journey and maybe take a couple year or two before that, what got you and decided, I'm going to start an agency. And then let's look at that 6-year time span, the ups and the downs, and what does that journey look like?
Yeah. So I remember when I was in, I'm going to try to go through this in good spurts. So I was in high school and I was working at a cafe, and that's what I did for years is I worked at a breakfast and lunch place, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. My boss was always telling me yo, dude, go to culinary school. You already know how to cook breakfast and lunch, get better at everything else. So I decided to go to culinary school. I was there for a year. I went to SUNY Delhi, and during that time before that, the summer of, I was in high school and I was playing basketball at a very high level. I was getting recruited to play D1. I was going to play at Dayton. All these things were happening for me. And dude, I never hit puberty. And this is I know I'm going in weird circles, but
wait, I'm going to take a quick pause here. So first, you're a chef, or you were learning how to...
Yeah, I wanted to cover right before that. I didn't that's why I decided to become a chef, because I didn't have any skills because I put my whole entire life into basketball for so long.
Are you still into basketball?
I play recreationally, but my biggest letdown of my life was definitely not being able to play college ball for sure.
Do you still follow basketball?
Hell yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have a chat about that afterwards because
Yeah.
I'm a big basketball head as well. So
The
interesting.
like, dude, I was in middle school and I was averaging maybe 25 to 30 points a game, and I was 4'11" and 70 pounds. I was a freak, dude. Like the whole like people thought that I was gonna go all the way, and I was excited. And then between 10th and 11th grade, everybody hit puberty. I didn't. So you're 70 pounds driving through the lane on a kid's hip who's 130. I'm telling you right now, dude, that's very tough. So like you're driving, you're trying to split the baseline, like it's just not gonna work. So for those reasons, like Dayton pulled their offer and I just didn't get to play basketball. Like I tried to do practice squad, still didn't make it because when I was a freshman in college, like right before because I had to take human growth hormone. So like I didn't hit puberty. So we went to my doctor. My doctor was like, dude, you're really far behind. Like we're scared. Your body mass index is so below average. Like we have to figure this out.
Really?
And yeah, we wind up taking HGH the whole summer. And dude, I was on massive doses. So like you're immune compromised. I was locked in a room for 90 days. Like, dude, it was fucking terrible. Like hands down, worst experience of my life. You're sitting there, your bones are stretching, you can't sleep. Like I had bags underneath my eyes. It took me a year to recover from it. So then from there, go to culinary school. I hated class. I hated being told what to do. I started to see this rebellious behavior in me. And that's when I started getting into like Pokemon cards. I was always a child at heart. I was always innocent at heart. I love Pokemon cards. I still trade them to this very day. I don't really talk about online much, but I got over like 500,000 in just Pokemon cards.
Really?
Dude, I'm a nut for Pokemon. Yeah. Like I will, I'll sit there at night sometimes and I'll go on this app called Whatnot. And it's an app where you can go live trade cards and you can buy them for people and you can just negotiate. It's actually fucking insane. But all right, let's just bring it back. So, okay. Was in culinary school, hated it. Basically found Ty Lopez's course because I was trading cards on eBay. When you're on eBay, dude, you see ads for all this other stuff online.
Yeah.
Ty Lopez's stuff got me. I was watching a VSL and him talking about SMMA. It was like, boom, it was like $9.97. Bought the course. It was teaching me how to like local business, pitch 7-day free trials. And I started doing that because when I dropped out of culinary school, I went back home to live with my parents. And then I went to business school instead because they saw that I was very rebellious. I liked the Pokemon card stuff. They're like, dude, you might as well go to business school because you're not going to want to be a chef. So then I went to business school for the last 4 years and I was building my agency, doing 7-day free trials, barbershops, restaurants, local sneaker shops, like, dude, all this stuff. I was charging $300 a month. I was just like, doing small boost post ads for them. I was getting off the ground. I was starting to learn like social skills. Like, dude, I was the frailest, weirdest kid ever. I was so socially awkward. I'd go into businesses, I'd be shaking and shit. It was just awkward. So then that's when I started also learning how to build relationships, like why it's important to like really front load value first. And then it's easier to get a yes. And that's how I got like 13 clients pay me $200 a month. I know that's not a lot to some people, but like at the time, man, the economy was a little bit of a different place than what it is now. Also, if you're a college kid and you're making $2,600 a month, no job is giving you $2,600 a month in college. I don't care where you're working. Even if you're a bartender, you're probably squeezing maybe that close. So then, yeah, dude, I built the agency. I started posting a lot of content online. I got picked up by this brand called Hustle Island, and they were doing like a free plus shipping offer. But then I started learning funnels and active campaign and upsells and downsell funnels through ClickFunnels with Hustle Island because they saw all the videos I was posting online because I was getting out of college. I was saying, hey, like if you're 18 to 24, you don't need to go to college. Like I'm here right now because I want to make my dad and my mom happy. But like, dude, I'm making $27 a month running an agency. I make more than one of the teachers here. Like, what the hell is going on? She's a part-time teacher. She makes $800 every 2 weeks. I make more than her. That's crazy. So that's where I started making all the videos. They reached out to me, sent me free apparel. I made videos with them. And I sent it back to Greg, and Greg called me. He's like, dude, these videos outperformed all of our ads. And then he reached out to me, maybe come meet him for lunch in Connecticut because I lived in New York. I met him for lunch. He was like, yo, we want to pay you $4,000 a month. Bro, when I tell you how weird that sounds to a person that's charging $200 a month and someone's like, yo, we're going to give you $4,000 a month. I went from $2,600 a month to $6,600 a month within this. I dropped him off and my phone goes off. And it's a PayPal for like 39, whatever, $100 because the PayPal takes fees and shit. Oh, I get the PayPal and I was like, oh my God, dude. Like one of the weirdest moments of my life. And I saved money for the next year then. And then I wind up moving out. I went to Orlando and then I just went all in on the agency.
Interesting. So that's the preliminary path to this. I also remember, man, the first time I got a check, it was an actual check. It wasn't even a PayPal. This was in 2015. I had this old school person that I was able to close, and he wrote me like a $2,000 check. And that was like the first time I had ever made money, but it was like an actual physical check. And I had to go to the bank and cash it, and it was ridiculous. And then eventually it scaled up. And I remember the first time I had somebody wire me $50,000. And I was like, holy crap, right? That feeling, because it doesn't change. You kind of forget it a little bit as you grow. But then when you look back on it, you're like, man, those were the days. So now you're like, I'm all in on the agency. All right. So you start this agency, you've learned ClickFunnels, you've learned, from Russell, you've learned from social media and Ty Lopez and stuff. That's at the start, I guess, around the beginning of the first year or so. So how do you go from that to now $18 million? What happened?
Yeah. So big thing that happened was I had to get past my biggest problem, which was like my control issue. Because when you're first starting an agency, like, or any business, it's always your baby. It's like, all right, this is my baby. I don't really trust nobody with it. And then I was doing done for you services, but also I was doing coaching. And I spread myself way too thin. I was doing so many things throughout the day. And I had to make my first hire. And like, that was a part where I was working 16 hours a day, dude. To give you some context, when I was running the agency for the first 2 years, I maybe was at 10 to 15K a month. And then after that, I got a really good deal with a corporate company. They're a mortgage company. I was doing consulting. That was a massive deal. That got me to 40K a month. Then I was at 40K a month. And then I was like, yo, I have expertise. I can sell coaching. And then the coaching was, at the time, dude, it was 4 calls and it was $19.97. So cheap, dude. It was great. But like, it was so like, I was doing maybe 12 Zoom calls a day, half an hour each. And like, dude, it was nuts. I went from 40K a month. Then we had $130,000 a month with coaching. Like, dude, I was selling so many coaching packages. It was absurd.
$2,000 a pop. Bro, that's a lot of calls, man.
Dude, I was on maybe 12 to 14 calls a day. It was pretty bombastic. I would then hop on all these Zoom calls all day. And then from 4 p.m. to about 8 p.m. was fulfillment. And then after 8 p.m., I would go get dinner, come back, go to sleep, repeat. And that was my life for a year and a half. I stacked a lot of money during that time because a lot of people online were just telling me like, yo, man, you need to save enough money for 6 months of living expenses. Like if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to have all this safety net stuff. And I was like, wait a second, dude, everyone's like shooting way too low. Like, why is everybody just like, yeah, just save 6 months? My biggest goal, bro, was just to have $1 million in the bank liquid, and then I could freaking chill out and not be so stressed out. That was my goal. So for 2 years, I got to it. Like, dude, stressful as hell. But I put myself in a weird like health issue too, because you're working so much, bro. I had zero social life. I did nothing. I didn't go out with my friends. I didn't drink. I didn't like play fun board games on Sundays. Like, dude, I was just taking calls, closing people all day. And, after the coaching kind of like weaned out because, dude, I was so exhausted. I was like, all right, we have to systemize done for you, which required what? Actual people, fulfillment and systems and product market fit and all the tiers that I was going to be offering and what those sales calls would look like, what the pitch deck would look like. And dude, all those things, like, to be honest, man, I kind of learned it on my own. I did it. I didn't start paying for coaches until I was at 100K a month on the DFY reoccurring, not including coaching. The reason why I started paying for coaches then was because I was scared that I was going to lose it. Like when you have more to lose, you get scared. And that's when I started to feel that way. But yeah, dude, biggest thing in the beginning was all product market fit. Like, what are other agencies doing with their offer stack? What does my onboarding look like? What are my Zapier automations? Like, what does this roadmap look like for the client? What are we doing the first week and week 2 and week 3 and week 4? Like, I had to map out all these things because, to be honest, dude, I had no idea because I was so used to just hopping on Zoom calls and doing coaching, and then that was it. So, being able to systemize with like, what software are my clients going to use? Like, what are the nurtures going to look like? Are they using GHL? Are they using ClickFunnels? Like, do I need a Zapier person? Like, do I need a copywriter? Who's going to write the landing pages? Am I just going to run lead forms? Like, all these things are going through my mind, and I had to really map out what a good journey looked like. And for those 2 years, I wasn't really that good. I was very just like sporadic-y. I made quick decisions, which are important now in my life, but not back then. I was just excited about growth and all these things. And like, I liked all the shiny stuff in life, like ClickFunnels awards. Like, it was just like, I was appealing to the wrong crowd also because I was marketing with cars and doing exotic stuff. And like, it was appealing to the wrong people, dude. And now we've kind of changed the brand a lot more to where it's just like better quality people coming to the ecosystem for sure. So I hired a COO to help me with hiring and systems. Unfortunately, that didn't go as well as I'd like because that's actually one of the hardest hires to have because, and if people don't realize this, man, it's like most people who are listening to this are going to be below seven figures. For you to grow an agency to $1 million a year is actually a lot harder than you think. It's this cool business model that's been pushed in the online space for years. But like, I feel like I'm only like one of few who were able to get it to this point. Like, it's really freaking difficult. You have to have really good A+ leadership. You have to really watch your margins. You have to understand that, like, yeah, you could service one niche, but as you service one niche and you want to scale, your ad costs are going to go through the roof when you only go for one niche. If you're pushing brand, you're going to be able to build more partnerships with people and actually be able to get more affiliate partners and be able to actually grow and scale faster. And if people trust and like you, you're never going to have a problem selling. So like those things that I really had to figure out. And in the beginning, you were saying like, hey, like what are some of the biggest growth tips that you can give people? And hands down, the thing that really blew us up over the last 3 to 4 months, and I know that sounds so recent, is all the podcasts that I did. Podcasts were massive for me because I already had a following, but like no one actually knew who I was. There's people online that you see and you're like, they have 3 million followers. They must be making so much money. Bro, to be honest, those are some of the brokest people on the planet. There's people that I know that have 4 or 5 million followers. They're TikTok influencers and they don't make a dime.
Yeah.
And it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And I just needed more quality people in my corner. Like I needed like all these things that I used to hear when I was first starting, like your network is your net worth. And I didn't even realize that stuff. I was like, oh, like, dude, just build a good business and be a good business owner and you'll make money. But like, no, the people that you know that you have in your phone that are in your back pocket will literally bring you to new income heights you never even saw before. And that was a huge thing for me over the last couple of months that we really blew up with. The other thing too, that most agencies don't realize is like the market actually is always changing. You have to be really like keen on doing enough research and being able to test offers and know what people want. Like, for example, this would be a very gold nugget for some people is like, we used to just charge retainers for e-com stores because they were going under the same umbrella as lead gen. But here's the problem. We changed the offer to, hey, like just pay half now and pay half later. And that got a higher conversion rate on the phone. So pay half now, and then you're going to pay your second half when you get an ROI on the first money. And dude, that offer's been killing it on the phone. Like you have to really, even when you think you're doing well, you might not be doing as well as you'd like because you're just not willing to test the offer. So you think it's going to screw up your sales process when you're just getting data from the market, and data from the market is the best decision maker you could ever have. Also, a big thing when you're trying to go from even like 7 to 8 figures is all about bolt-ons. So like, what do I mean about a bolt-on? I mean, either you make your onboarding process faster with a software, or you run events, or you partner with bigger people in the space. Those are bolt-ons that provide you more leads because hands down, dude, like running the events was a massive bolt-on and it added like 2 to 3 million a year in just revenue for us because the event space is something that is very like untouched because people are scared to do it because they either have stage fright or they're scared to look stupid in front of a bunch of people. Running events was so simple for us because I didn't want to overcomplicate things. And that brings me to the last point, which is overcomplication will stress out most business owners when everything that I do in my business with ads or copy or looking at a landing page, I literally sit there and I read one sentence and I'm like, what is someone going to say to that? What is their biggest objection? And that's how I write copy. Do people resonate? And what are they going to say to me? And that's all I do with just copywriting and direct response. I don't overcomplicate shit. Because simple sells. In a world where there's so much content out there, in a world where there's so much fluff, like you will break through the ice if you just sell simple. And that's really what the biggest thing that I learned in the last couple of months for sure.
Like simplicity is the thing that scales, and it's challenging because people, especially marketers and especially agency owners who are ultimately marketers, they chase these tactics and then they learn these tactics and then they want to deploy these tactics and they want to stack them. And then it just becomes this crazy complex process when in reality, if you stay hyper focused, it scales. Another thing that you mentioned, which is interesting, is the net worth, being around the right circles. I remember when we launched Funnelytics in around 2020, just after COVID, we built enough of a reputation that we ended up partnering with Russell and the ClickFunnels guys on the back end of their Traffic Secrets book launch. So we were one of the offers, and that alone, I think if I remember correctly, it was like he did his book launch and 30 days later, they wired me like $290,000 in commissions because of our sales on the back end. So I was like, that alone was just like a nice day. It was a nice 20, like, oh, my bank account went up a lot today. And that's because you are part of who you meet and who you network with and building those relationships. So I totally agree. One more question, and then I'd love for people to learn more about how they can find out. The thing with agencies that I find is there's two ways to scale, right? You can either go the VaynerMedia route, enterprise, massive deals, very custom work, just big contracts with Audis of the world, right? Or you can go the niche system, try to sell that system as often as you possibly can. For example, the e-commerce space. It doesn't work in any other option. If you want to go custom, you've got to go big. If you want to go productized, you've got to go niche, right? The thing that you mentioned, though, that is very important is that first hire. Was that first hire a leader and more of like a business partner, higher level thinker? Or was that first hire more of a doer, an operator type of person?
Yeah. So my first hire was basically a replication of me.
Nice.
I knew this guy. His name was Dave. He was a very good copywriter. He wasn't like obviously as good as I was, but I needed somebody to be at least 80% as good as me. Whenever people are hiring you, they're just too perfectionism with it. It's like, listen, if you're the business owner, you need to be a leader to show people what the vision looks like for the company and give them a good culture and give them a reason why they want to work harder or provide better results for the clients in the ecosystem. So, Dave came in and he was helping me with copy, with funnels. Like he knew how to do all of that. He wasn't an ops person though. And that's where things broke again. So like he was able to help me get past 100K a month. But like once we got there, it was very tough after because I didn't have any ops. I had graphic designers, I had developers that I was hiring, but like we had no idea to systemize them, to make them productive. So everybody's first hire is different. I think that whatever you're doing, that like you should be doing the 80-20 rule in the beginning, which is like, hey, what are the things that I'm doing? You need to build a system behind what does a good landing page look like in this niche? What does the headline look like? You can make simple Loom videos and a nice Google Doc, and you could delegate that to somebody. What settings to click, what buttons, like, etc. It's this thing where if you're willing to systemize it, it will be systemized. And also some companies always say to me or agencies like, oh, like we can't systemize this. I'm like, well, then you're not actually good at X, which is why you can't systemize X. If the proof of concept isn't good, then you can't freaking automate it. You have to actually have a good proof of concept. And if it's not quality, then when you decide to automate it, because you think everything's supposed to be automated, it's going to be shit. You need to understand that you're only as good as you think you are. But even when you think you're good, your ego gets in the way, which doesn't allow you to hire, which also breaks your systems. So like, it's a very double-edged sword.
What about the operation side? So when that broke at the 100K mark, how did you fix that?
I had to then I had a girl named Tiffany at the time. She came in for about a year and a half and she helped me do all like the Q1 meetings and the Zapier and Monday.com and all that and helped me have like a better foundation because we wind up switching from ClickUp to Monday. That was a whole transition. And then we were at Basecamp. We went from Basecamp to Slack and she overhauled that and she was great. But then we started overhiring. And that was another issue that I came into was overhiring and not utilizing everybody's skill sets who I had. I didn't realize utilization was and like, time tracking and all these things. Like it was things that I had to really open my eyes to because I always thought that it was like, hey, you place somebody here, they just work. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't really, that was a shit show. So tracking utilization, having KPI dashboards, like all those things that actually made me make better decisions were the boring things. Like I never thought those things were important until like my bank account was starting to reflect, oh shit, our margins are dropping because I wasn't harnessing better KPIs for the business to be able to grow.
And it's interesting in the software space, one of the things I've learned, margins are obviously significantly different on the software side. The challenge is obviously you've got the engineering and when you raise money, so we raise millions of dollars. When you raise money, that overhiring thing is like a requirement. It's basically how do you burn cash over the next, 18 months to kind of hit the next milestone. It's so easy to overhire. It's so easy to fuck yourself over by just putting yourself in a position where you bring on more than is really required because you haven't really paid attention to how things are really systemized and who is in what seat and whether they should be in that seat or not. A lot of times, biggest mistake people do is they'll go and move somebody that shouldn't be moved into another seat. And like, hey, you've been with me for 2 years. I think it's time for you to be a manager, for example. And it's like, you know what that's going to cost is it's going to cost you another 3 years of them learning how to be a manager for, on your dime. So if you got deep pockets, fine, take those 3 years and up your people. But when you're at this stage where it's about scale, you can't do that. Where can people learn more about you?
They can go on Instagram. They can just go to @the_Jason_Wojo. If they want to go to my website, it's officialjasonwojo.com. If they're looking to maybe work with me or my team, they can just go to my Instagram and click the link in my bio, which is jasonrunsads.com/scale, and they can book a demo and see if they qualify.
Jason, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing all these stories and these nuggets. It's extremely inspiring what you've been able to achieve for not only your own agency, but for your clients. And there's too many people out there who say that they're an agency or say that they run ads and they do these things and they've just literally signed up for a free course on Udemy. And then that's what they do, right? And the fact that you've actually been able to do these results is impressive. So thank you for being on. Thank you for sharing your story, and we'll chat soon, man.